welcome back to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe. My name is Greg Ingalls.
And I'm Jaron Decker.
And we'll be your host today. Today on Anything Joe's, we're back on the Marvel G.I. Joe run, and we've made it to fabulous issue number 14. This is really like a sweet spot in terms of the first continuity-based G.I. Joe story where we're seeing characters come and go and we're meeting new characters for the first time. Lots of revelations, lots of stuff carrying over from previous issues. It's all kind of winding up in a ball, and I think the next like 5 or 6 issues especially really get a sweet spot in terms of the turmoil between G.I. Joe and Cobra. So let's crack this bad boy open and take a look at the cover right away. Cover to G.I. Joe number 14 is, again, I guess I say this just about every time, but another great iconic cover from this era. I don't really think there are many weak covers at all in the first 2-3 years. They've all got a little bit of something going for them. And this one's no exception. It's like all-out war, basically. The APC is driving through some kind of valley, and Cobra troopers have just started jumping down from above on top. We've got Joe spilling out on the front shooting. The main cannon's going off. And it looks like it's all being led by a mysterious man with a silver mask, who, if you hadn't seen up to this point, would be your first reveal, since he's on the cover. It's interesting that there's a little bit of, I won't say confusion, but maybe some debating on how Destro's face plate works. There's the idea that it's just a mask, which I think is what it's supposed to be portrayed here. Kind of a void, but where his eyes and mouth would be. So I think the implication here is that he's wearing a straight-up helmet. It does not emote at all. It doesn't move when his mouth moves. Even though in the cartoon, and definitely in the comic book as well, we see it more I don't know, it's like Spider-Man's mask, the way his eyes move up and down. But you're like, that probably shouldn't work that way, right? Destro's is the same way. It has a little bit of a malleable personality to it at times. But on the cover here, it doesn't look that way. It looks like a straight-up mask. And you can see all of his other key features. His medallion is off a little bit, but it is there. He looks bare-chested in this. That's something else you're not always 100% sure if he's bare-chested or if that's a shirt, but it looks that way here. You see his wrist rockets. He's got his gun. He's got his little controller. He's pointing forward as if you, the reader, are part of his Cobra military force. He said, hey, get in there and attack those Joes while I pose for this cover. Jaron, what do you think about this cover?
I love it. I love that they at least in the previous issues, they had been kind of teasing him almost hey, you can kind of see him here and you can kind of see him there. And then rather than wait for the reveal inside the comic, they're just nah, let's slap him on the cover. Which, granted, if I saw someone I didn't know on the cover that looked this cool, I would be intrigued. I do have to say that whoever planned this route for them and looked at this, valley with rocks on both sides, they should have expected an ambush here. This looks like a perfect ambush spot.
There's a Cobra on top of the APC that's actually shooting up at the mountain. I would really like to know if what's going on with who's that guy shooting at. Was that supposed to be a Joe and he was drawing incorrectly? Is there a Joe up on top of the mountain that we don't see? I don't know how he got up there. Maybe he used the jump pack to get up there, or is that guy just I'm turning traitor? He has kind of the flash leg pads that there's a little orange leg pad. And even the weapon with the backpack coil, that could also be a pretty crudely drawn Flash's laser rifle. But it definitely lost.
Do you think they miscolored?
I don't know. I just it seems like they lost the plot a little bit there. I've just never noticed that before, but he definitely seems didn't get the right blueprint on what their attack route was supposed to be.
I'm gonna take down a quick rabbit hole. Did you ever play the game Crash Bash on PlayStation?
I can't say that I have.
It was Crash Bandicoot's Mario Party, basically.
Oh!
And it was phenomenal.
I do remember this.
The reason I bring this up, at the very beginning of the game, in universe, there weren't very many good guys in the Crash universe, and the masks that were the leaders were hey, this isn't fair. So they make 2 of the bad guys join the good guys team because they're oh, this isn't fair. Here you go. So that's my justification for this. Destro was well, we did ambush them. So you right there, you're with them. So that's why he's shooting up into the mountain.
Sorry, guys, it's way uneven. Fred, you're on their team.
All right. Let's break this open and get started. Issue number 14, Destro Attacks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your G.I. Joe read-along book. Every time you hear this chime, it means it's time to turn the page in your storybook. Now, if you are ready, we will start.
50 feet below a jungle river in Sierra Gordo, Snake Eyes is trapped in a sunken cobra bunker with the evil Dr. Venom and the Eskimo mercenary Kwinn. So this is the first time, we took an issue where we didn't really see them at all. We just heard them tapping from within. This is the first 100% confirmation all three characters are still alive and they've gotten themselves into quite a predicament. They're already kind of at odds with each other here in this small little cell. Kwinn has his flashlight and his gun drawn. Snake Eyes has got his fisticuffs up, probably his most deadliest weapons. And Dr. Venom has a chair, just straight out of the WWE, took the only thing he could find to use. And it seems at odds with the other two gentlemen.
I caught him tapping on the door. He was trying to signal the other G.I. Joe members.
What difference does it make who gets us out of here, as long as we get out? It's obvious that your Cobra friends aren't going to help us, Dr. Venom. They're the ones that tried to kill us by bombing the bunker. If we're going to get out of this mess, we're going to have to cooperate and forget personal animosities and...
Suddenly, Dr. Venom raises up the chair. He's just tired of this nonsense.
Forget? Never! I shall kill this Snake Eyes with my bare...
Snake Eyes does a little karate chop and just breaks that chair no big deal, as we've seen him do with pretty much everything nonstop. And he can't. You kidding me? Snake Eyes with a chair? Get out of here. He uses that same hand and lunges in and grabs Dr. Venom by the throat. Dr. Venom lets out a...
Stop it. Don't you understand? We either help each other or else we all die.
Do you fear death, Kwinn?
Fear? No. I'd call it a healthy respect.
There are deaths that one should fear, Kwinn. Prolonged, agonized, wretched expirations, such as are contained in this vial. The plague toxin the Baroness mistakenly assumes to be in Scarface's briefcase.
So a little bit of a double, triple cross. Dr. Venom was obviously prepared for some tomfoolishness, and he's done the old switcheroo, and I guess he has the plague toxin still on his own person. In G.I. Joe headquarters, deep below Fort Wadsworth in Staten Island, we've got Doc and Hawk and Breaker, Scarlet. I mean, the whole crew's pretty much here. They've been working on this micro dot that was intentionally left behind to be discovered, and they're pulling on that thread. This microdot map fragment that Stalker found in the Cobra research station in Sierra Gordo is labeled in code. We've been running a matching program with every known map in the world working from geographical features alone. Hawk, Breaker's got a printout. Breaker tears off a sheet of paper and holds it up for Hawk to look at. This is the only clue we have to where the Baroness was taking Scarface and his mysterious briefcase. And our only shot at evening the score for Snake Eyes. Let's run it up on the large monitor so everyone can... Lordy, that's a jackpot map if I ever saw one. Breaker, get General Flag on the horn. We don't see what they've seen on the screen, but obviously the map is of some importance to them. Meanwhile, in Cobra headquarters, we're at, again, kind of the underneath of it's like a sewage area, but it's almost like a dungeon. It's like a fully formed place where they're walking around, despite the fact that water seems to be leaking everywhere. Baroness and Destro are meeting in secret, we assume. Must I call you by that awful name, even in private?
Yes, you are the only one here who knows it. My real name, my real past. And I am the only one who knows the truth about you, Baroness.
I can't bring myself to say it. I shouldn't even be talking to you. Things are different now. It can't be like it was before. Sorry. I must report to Cobra Commander and...
You won't betray me?
How can you ask that? Of course not.
Listen, don't go. There will be drastic changes soon. The situation shall be completely altered.
I'm late.
Please just say my name. My new name.
Is it that important to you?
Yes.
Here in this last shot, we see Destro's face reflected in Baroness's glasses. Once again, we're looking... This is technically the second time we're seeing the glint off of his helmet. And then on the very next page of the full reveal, tip-to-toe, Destro in full gear, mask and all. Definitely not wearing a shirt in this shot. Put that on the scoreboard. Baroness looks at him and says quietly, Destro. And then we're back inside of the bunker.
Why kill us? It was the Baroness that tried to do you in, probably under orders from Cobra Commander himself. All three of us have a score to settle with Cobra Commander. Let's call a truce and help each other get revenge. And furthermore, why are you turning that valve?
Dr. Venom's just got both hands looking straight ahead, turning this huge, I don't know what you call a wheel that size, but you've seen it in every video game ever if you need to put out a fire or... It's like just a gigantic wheel that controls water flow.
You're opening the vents. The bunker is flooding.
Water's rising up on him. Now it's up to waist level. Snake Eyes and Kwinn both take in the rising water. Back to Fort Wadsworth. We see the Vamp driving in. This better be important, Clutch. I was in the middle of a conference with the Joint Chiefs. General Flag, if what we have downstairs pans out, you don't have to worry about the Joint Chiefs. You'll be one. They drive in, and then the secret elevator that lowers them into the pit takes off. Moments later, in the heart of the pit, we have an exact computer matchup. The Cobra Microdot map fragment shows a 5-mile square section of Vermont. Could mean anything, Hawk. Maybe Cobra Commander likes to ski. No, sir. His only hobby is target shooting with machine guns. If you'll see for yourself, sir, the name of the town dead center in this map fragment, you'll understand our concern. Now we see the map fragment, and it's clearly located with the name Springfield, a name that continues to come up in the history of Cobra bases on U.S. soil. Springfield. Wherever Cobra's involved, the name Springfield keeps popping up. Who knows? Maybe this is home base. Maybe we can catch them picking their noses with their feet on the kitchen table. Cut to Cobra headquarters, where Cobra Commander is practicing his favorite hobby of shooting with machine guns. He's got a machine gun mounted on a table, and he's got these classic, cardboard cutouts of Joes that he's practicing shooting on. I see a Scarlet, a Stalker, and probably a Flash, based on the gun he's holding. He's lighting them.
He's holding a banjo, is what it looks like.
He hates Steve Martin. See, Baroness is debriefing him as he's, taking some pot shots. So, my dear Baroness, did the Joes snap up the microdot we planted at the research station in Sierra Gordo? Yes, Cobra Commander. Our remote sensors recorded the pickup. The map fragment indicated the location of Cobra headquarters as being under the Chaplain's Assistance School in Fort Wadsworth. The Joes will waste their time poking around that innocent little army post and stay far away from Springfield, Vermont, our plague toxin test site. So, they blindly picked a spot on this fake map, which just happens to be the very real spot where the pit is hidden. It's like a 1 in a million chance of that happening. And obviously, the Joes aren't going to waste too much time poking around at their own base. Also worth noting that Springfield, Vermont is not a Springfield of note. It just happens to be yet another Springfield that they've chosen it for to do their plague toxin test.
Something I think funny, and I don't know if it was meant to be a correlation or if it's just because they need another LMG. This gun looks to be the exact same one that Kwinn uses. And I just think it's funny that he carries it around and runs around with it, whereas Cobra Commander has it mounted to the table.
Yeah.
Just kind of a cool way to show the difference between them.
Has some lackeys carry it in and set it up for him.
Yeah.
Does Scarface know what he carried in the briefcase? No. And you're sure Dr. Venom is dead? Certain, along with Snake Eyes and Kwinn. Did you plant the microdot yourself? Of course. Why shouldn't? I guess that's supposed to say, why shouldn't I? Do you have an eye on yours? Just curious.
I do.
See?
I have an eye.
Well, they left that out. On mine it just says, why shouldn't? Question mark.
Yeah, it says, why shouldn't? And then underneath is I question
Yeah,
mark.
that eye has been removed in these remasters. These unfortunate remasters. Elsewhere in Cobra headquarters, we're at another weird underground sewage area of Cobra HQ. This time, Destro's meeting with Scarface, our notorious Cobra officer with the scars that go across his eyes.
Tell me, Scarface, were you successful in switching the microdots?
Of course, Destro. The Baroness didn't want to go trampling through the jungle, so she let me do it.
And you have no idea what was in either microdot.
How could I, Destro? Where could I get a microscope in the middle of the jungle? Back to the underground bunker where Venom is explaining his actions.
Leave the valve alone. The only way we can get the door open is to let in enough water to equalize the pressure. There's 50 feet of river above us pushing on the door with hundreds of pounds of water pressure. Even then, you are the only one strong enough to move the door, Kwinn. But in order to do that, you'll have to leave your guns and flashlight with me.
Nothing suspicious about that. The heavy equipment level of the pit, we see the APC for the first time, unless you cut the cover, which we're not. Looks like they're loading up and getting ready to hit the ground running. APC's drawn a little weird here. Look how far back the wheels are. Like, the last set of wheels on this APC are almost in the middle of the APC itself. Like, it's got quite a caboose on it.
Well, and then if you switch to the other page, when you see it, it looks
Oh,
normal.
Yeah.
Like,
The
drastically
wheels are
different.
fully on in the back, way off here. Everything else looks really good in proportion in the front, but they lost the lead here in the back. Scarlet, Breaker, Doc, Stalker, Gung-Ho, Grunt, and Zap into the rear of the personnel carrier. Yo, Hawk, what about me and Clutch? Rock and Roll, you man the gun turret. Clutch drives and I ride shotgun. Any other stupid questions? Let's go. Move us on to the heavy equipment lift, Clutch. We're going to drive all the way to Vermont. We better stop at a gas station and get a map. We're only driving as far as Fort Wadsworth baseball field, Clutch. They drive onto a little mini elevator that goes down into the ground and lifts them up somewhere else. Put it on the pitcher's mound and shut off the engine. The APC drives right out into a baseball diamond where a game is actively going on. They stop right on the pitcher's mound. All the players come out and are furious. We got a major playoff going on here between the chaplain's assistants and the permanent latrine orderlies. Sorry, but orders is orders. Clutch pulls out some paperwork and flashes it in their face. Huh? Priority transportation order signed by General Flagg. How do you transport a PC from the middle of a ball diamond? Oh, here comes the answer. They all look up, and here comes Wild Bill in a, hey, you got any input on this helicopter? If it ain't a C-130, I'm usually out.
A C-130 helicopter, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, if it's not a C-130, I cannot identify it. It's reminiscent in structure of the Dragonfly, but it's got two long kind of like back legs, so the APC can get clomped up and transported with it. I'm sure it's based on a real military vehicle, but it's, to my knowledge, not a real G.I. Joe vehicle.
Yeah, I'm not. There's definitely something, and I can see it in my head, which is basically just this. Probably almost perfectly, but I don't.
Okay, got it. So the chopper lands down with Wild Bill in it. He leans out the window. Clamps secured. Vehicle clamps secured. Wild Bill, take us up. Hang on tight, pards. Next stop, Springfield. So they lift up the APC, leaving the baseball players dazed and confused. Cut back to Cobra HQ. We're no longer in the sub basement, but we are still underground somewhere, and Destro and Scarface are walking along a little plane silo.
In a matter of moments, the rocket plane will lift out of the silo to carry Cobra Commander to meet his destiny.
Destiny? That's pretty poetic, Destro. He's just going up to Vermont to oversee some sort of experiment.
One never knows, Scarface. Perhaps the winds of change are blowing strong today. Perhaps it is time for a new order.
You talking to me? If you are, I'm lost.
Just rambling. I trust the commander will have a safe trip.
Of course. The Baroness is an excellent pilot.
The Baroness.
Is there an echo in here? Destro snaps and grabs Scarface by the collar of his suit and holds him over the railing of the silo.
Don't joke with me, Worm. Cobra Commander was supposed to go to Vermont alone.
Sure, Cobra Commander always travels alone, but the Baroness always pilots the plane. As he says that, the plane takes off from the silo and is in the stratosphere. Last panel on this page, our three adventurers in the bunker are up to their neck in water at this point.
Water's almost to the ceiling.
Time for you to try the door. I'll watch your guns and light. You don't want to burden yourself needlessly while you strain with our escape portal.
It's no bother, Dr. Venom. Really.
Kwinn dives underwater and is saying like a little internal prayer.
Spirit of the otter, help me dive deep. Spirit of the bear, give me strength to open this door. And Spirit of the Weasel, give me counsel to outwit this Dr. Venom.
Our transport choppers coming in as they arrived near Springfield. Got any inkling to what we'll uncover in Springfield, Hawk? Not a clue, Scarlet, and we won't uncover anything if we spook them too early. That's why we're landing on the other side of the mountain from Springfield. Why couldn't we just infiltrate in civvies? It's a small town in Vermont. All strangers are suspect. If Cobra's there, it'll be twice as bad. No, Force Recon's the only way to go. Maybe your next idea will be better. Clutch, you're despicable. Well, thanks, I like you too. Alright, you two. Suddenly there's a big whoosh, and the chopper kind of shudders in the sky a little bit. What was that? It felt like somebody passed us in the fast lane, but the sky is empty.
Hawk, this is Wild Bill in the pilot's seat. Whatever passed us was a supersonic aircraft. It was flying way too low for any kind of authorized flight.
Baroness, we just passed a military helicopter. Could they possibly identify and... Not a chance, Cobra Commander. We shall be arriving in Springfield in 3 minutes. I am making radio contact now. Cut to a faraway shot of a small little building on the outside of this Vermont town. You hear an old telephone ringing. We get a little bit closer, and on the top of the roof of this building, as the phone rings, it says in big letters, Arbco Furniture Company. That's the first time we've actually seen Arbco, the famous Cobra anagram that Cobra uses when they're doing Cobra stuff, but just flat out saying Cobra is too obvious. But if you just mix the letters around a little bit, you're all good. Final shot, we see an elderly gentleman. Looks a little bit like a switchboard operator, or, I don't know, it makes me think of a dude that worked at a newspaper probably in the 80s. He's picking up the phone on his final ring. Looks like he's got a little thermos or something in his hand. Does not look like a Cobra operative, but pretty clearly is on the next page, because we got Cobra Nazi salute, everybody. Full hand to sky. Add that to the old scoreboard. Still doing that. This old man puts the salute up. Yes, Baroness. All hell mighty Cobra. There's some guys in the back that are working. They see the salute. He's here. I'll alert the others. Big computer switchboard. They're pushing buttons left and right. Raise the control tower and open the silo doors. Stand by ground guidance systems. All sectors yellow alert. Block incoming roads and commence radar jamming. That rooftop with the lettering on it starts to fold in on itself. You can see there's some kind of tube or silo from within. Automatic landing guidance systems locked on and functioning. Commence deceleration. All sections stand by to greet the commander. We see another rocket pop out of this silo and flop into the air.
Wait, was that not them landing? I thought that's what that was them landing, not going up in the air.
Oh, is it? Oh, you're right.
That's why they opened it up.
It's so weird to see a rocket looking like that, and then think it even has direction lines coming out of the thruster part of it. So, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's them landing. And I don't know. You see a rocket shaped that way, you think it probably only goes that way, right? Destro and Scarface are talking to each other as these paratroopers are getting loaded up back at Cobra HQ. I don't get it, Destro. Why are we dropping into Vermont with a squad of airborne troopers? How do you know the Cobra Commander is in danger?
I have my sources.
Sources? You haven't been out of my sight. You didn't talk to anybody, pick up a phone or get a message. How could you...
How I acquire information is none of your concern. Have you forgotten all those choice tidbits I know about your past?
No, Destro.
Then let's hear no more of this.
Scarface is pretty dumb. Just based on overhearing that conversation, pretty much anybody could put it together that Destro wants to bump off the commander, and has obviously made steps to make that happen. But all right, Scarface, there's a reason you're just a regular trooper, basically fodder.
Haven't made it to the Vipers or actually having any defining characteristics other than having a scar
other than
on your
having
face.
an unfortunate nickname based around your physical appearance.
Really making sure we know they're the bad guys.
Kwinn is holding the door open. So Snake Eyes and Venom and himself can get out. So you can see Snake Eyes' boot as he's going past Kwinn. Venom is thinking to himself, and we are privy to his thoughts as he comes up on him.
Just as I thought, the Eskimo feels the water. He closes his eyes.
Venom doesn't even hesitate, just clocks him with a wrench on the side of the head. What a jerk.
Now I only have Snake Eyes to deal with.
Venom's head bursts above the water as he gasps for air. Snake Eyes is pointing underwater.
What? You're wondering about your Eskimo friend? He's dead. And so will you be after... Eh?
Suddenly, like half a dozen guns are trained on Snake Eyes and Dr. Venom. Cut to the other POV and we see it's a bunch of like mercenaries and guerrillas. Oh, it's specifically the Cobra troopers that were disguised as renegades. In the last issue, you might remember they were sent in to infiltrate and prevent those French legionnaires that were crooked from basically doing what they wanted to do. These guys look pretty rough. They've been beat up. Their shirts all torn up.
We're Cobra troopers. We came into the jungle disguised as renegade government soldiers to rescue a G.I. Joe team from the real renegades. The Joes left behind a whole clearing full of booby traps. Chewed us up bad. Some thanks we got, huh?
While Bill is dropping off the APC, they're on the end of the crane getting ready. You can see a sign pointing towards Springfield since they overshot a little bit. This is where I leave you, pards. Just follow this road up over the mountain. She'll bring you right into Springfield. He starts flying away. Good hunting. Inside the furniture factory, so there's no furniture, by the way, in this panel. They could have not even pretending to put up a facade. All hail, mighty Cobra. Has the volunteer been prepared? Yes, Cobra Commander. A sealed room has been put at our disposal. Satisfactory? They walk in and it's like a pitch black room with a spotlight in the middle. There's a Cobra officer stripped down to his skivvies, and they let him leave his mask on, which was nice of him. He's like completely bolted down to this table, mad scientist style. Quite. My battle helmet and suit are airtight with built-in recycling gear. You, of course, must don protective gloves and a mask before we break the seals of the vials, which is exactly what she does. Baroness is still rocking her like classic old school blue outfit, or like dark blue. She puts on some like latex style gloves that go up to her elbows. She puts on an old school gas mask like you see DC hero the Sandman wear. 5 miles from Springfield, the APC is still moving and grooving. Here comes Stalker and Gung Ho back from their scouting missions. They pop out of the brush and walk up to the APC. Anything to report?
Springfield itself looks clean, but this furniture factory on the outskirts is a tad fishy.
Any particular reason or just gut feeling?
ARBCO is an anagram for Cobra.
Bingo! If only they had just written this information down, because it will continue to, years and years of ARBCO will exist. We could have shut down a plot right away. Who's transporting these gigantic pyramid-shaped things? ARBCO? That's Cobra. Arrest these guys. The end. Pyramid of Darkness. Back to Venom and Snake Eyes, who are surrounded by these Cobra troopers.
You've no grudge against me. It's the Joes who did you dirty. I'm one of you.
One of the guys takes a little upswing with his gun and hits him with the butt.
Can it, Venom? Cobra Commander wanted you dead. The way I see it, I can make myself some brownie points by finishing the job the Baron has botched up.
They draw their weapons on him yet again.
Please, I have money. Swiss accounts. Please.
Back to Vermont, we see that Destro, Scarface, and the paratroopers have hit the ground, or are hitting the ground.
Scarface, you're our land navigator. Plot a course that will take us to Springfield before the G.I. Joe team.
Springfield is due east of here, 5 miles as the crow flies. The only road curves around the mountain to the north, adding another 5 miles to the distance.
Roads are for the weak. We go overland, due east.
Destro here for all-terrain vehicles. Roads are for the weak. Try the new Rancho Override 4x4. We see a mom and pop top out of their front of their farmland, seeing seeing all these Cobra troopers trekking around. Skydiving joggers with costumes. What will they think of next, Seth? Must be from New York. Everybody's crazy down there. Back to the lab. Baroness has prepped a syringe of mysterious-looking liquid. After this injection of Dr. Venom's secret toxin, our volunteer here will be a walking biological time bomb. He will carry the plague with no harm to himself, but after the 2-week incubation period, his very touch will be deadly, and by that time he should be deep within G.I. Joe headquarters. I'm not sure this is a piece of the puzzle that we had been missing up until this point, but the idea is that they're going to infect somebody intentionally, and then they've planted this false information because they want the Joes to rescue this guy or take him as a prisoner, and then whatever this plague is will break out in the pit. They won't be able to hide because it'll be such a mass like mortality rate or whatever. They'll just be able to turn on the news and be like, oh, there's like 100 people dead here. That's where their base was, whatever. Back to the APC, everybody's like breaking out, getting in different different modes basically. Everybody back on the APC. We're gonna check out this furniture factory. How far is it, Clutch? We'll have to take the road that swings north 5 miles worth, but it's only 2 miles away as the crow flies due west. Very specific verbiage there as two different parties decide to travel as the crow flies. You're gonna bump heads. Destro is trekking across this farmland. He just passed a cow. Destro, this pace will kill us.
No, if the Joes beat us to Springfield, I'll kill you.
The mercenaries have their guns on Venom and Snake Eyes. We're seeing a lot of different people, all doing different stuff at the same time. Wait, if we shoot them here, we'll have to carry their bodies back as proof. It would be much easier on us if we made them walk back to the airfield and shoot them before takeoff. I like it. I was just going to show Cobra Commander their heads, but this is much neater. Cobra Commander observes from the shadows as Baroness is untying our volunteer Cobra operative. Yes, my boy, this is an historic moment. You have become my living instrument of destruction against the G.I. Joe team. Did you reseal the toxin vial, Baroness? Yes, Cobra Commander, everything is quite safe again. Back to the Joes. The factory should be in sight as soon as we crest that next hill. Over to Destro, who's doing a sweet one-headed vault over this stone wall. Destro, one of the men is falling behind.
Shoot him, Scarface, then fall back to the last position and administer the same to any other laggard.
Destro is like really put off as the field operative for Cobra. He's like basically what you would... he's playing the part that you would imagine Duke would eventually play for the Joe team. He does all the heavy infantry work with the commander's touch, and he's seen as a lot more heartless here than in later issues as his character develops. Our volunteer operative suddenly starts to convulse right as soon as he's off the table. He wraps his arms around himself. He lets out a and then hits the ground. Destro is barreling through a small body of water.
Almost there, just over that next rise.
Speaking of that next rise, from the other perspective, we see the APC barreling down on the Arpco Furniture Company. That's it. Looks peaceful enough, don't it? Everything looks peaceful, rock and roll, till you prod it with a stick and say boo. Our Cobra operative hits the ground, and his eyes rolled up in his head. He's dead, but the toxin was supposed to be harmless to the carrier. Yes, unless the toxin creator lied to me and held back the final catalyst. But that's just the kind of trickery I should expect from Dr. Venom. Dr. Venom's got quite the grin on his face here, from begging for forgiveness and survival to realizing that he once again has the upper hand.
So it was Cobra Commander who sold me out. He must be having quite a big laugh on me right now as he attempts to use my toxin without my secret catalyst. In fact, the laughter must be infectious.
What's he babbling about? Now we're into it. Destro has come across the APC and opened up the first fire. Looks like they maybe shoot a RPG or something. Bloop a frag, as they say in Joe speak. Hits the front tire of the APC. Looks like it doesn't take it out right away, though. It's pretty well fortified. Cobra ambush. No cover on either side of the road. We'll have to barrel on through. Do you see who's leading that pack of Vipers? It's that Cobra Big Shot we ran into in Alaska on the pipeline caper. That's, of course, a reference to G.I. Joe number 11, our first appearance, even our first cameo appearance of Destro.
Hold them back. They must not reach the factory.
We hit the jackpot. Whatever's in that old furniture factory must be pretty important if they're going to all this bother to keep us away. Heck, maybe they're just playing ornery. APC is like opened up on its sides, like sort of like pulling the shades on a window, and all the Joes are just gunning outside, which is pretty sweet. The APC is portrayed as a pretty great little fortified piece of equipment here. Back at the Cobra HQ, or well, technically, I guess we're right inside the factory now. Everybody's within a 1 mile radius of each other. Cobra Commander, the G.I. Joe team is attacking the factory. What? A Cobra officer with a silver mask is holding them off. Destro. He won't be able to hold them for long. I suggest you leave immediately in the rocket plane. I'll evacuate the personnel through the tunnel system and set the silo doors for automatic opening. Cobra Commander and the Baroness are already on their way out. The APC and Destro are still going at it. They've noticed that the factory roof is opening. Start evasive action. It might be... No, I thought it might be an anti-tank emplacement, but it's not. It's a missile silo. So They can see that the missile's popping out. Obviously, the Cobra Commander and the Baroness are already in or are preparing to depart. Hawk gets on the radio. This is Groundhog calling Sky Striker. Do you read me? Hey, everybody. It's the first appearance of the Sky Striker and our number one pilot, Ace. It's good to see the Sky Striker. That's it. That's the statement. It sure is good to see the Sky Striker. What a beauty.
This is Sky Striker Leader. I read you loud and clear, Groundhog. Also have visual contact. Well, it's hot down there, Hawk. I want you to make it hotter, Ace. Taste that factory for me. Make it go away.
You got it. That factory is moving to Matchstick City. You can see Ace even has the lettering on the side of his canopy, just like the toy would. Well, it would have his whole full name, but still, nice touch. And don't have to, like, obligatorily just slam Ace's name down there so you know what to look for when you're at the store. We got 4 vertical panels here, each one taking a different slice of the action. It's nice to see, like, each one just a 1 second glimpse of what's happening on this battlefield. We start with the silo still in the bunker with Cobra Commander and Baroness inside.
10 seconds to launch and counting. 9.
Switch to the APC, which is barely full on at the front door of the Arco Furniture Company. Cobra operatives standing in front, inside, buttoning them out, including Destro.
8. 7.
Cut to Destro himself standing his ground on the front of the lawn. He's firing his gun, and you can also see he's just shot 2 of his wrist-mounted rockets off of his wrist, which is like a key play point for me as a kid. Like, I use these rockets all the time. One of the few things that was molded onto a figure that I still consider to be like real stuff. Like, I never went in and was like, how many grenades does this guy have molded on? Because that's how many he has brought into combat. I know a lot of people did play like that, but for me, it had to be something extra special to stick out as a playable toy. And I think Destro's wrist rockets and also Scarlett's 2 hidden throwing stars that she has on the inside of her gloves are both 2 things that I always was like, yep, she's got them, and here they are.
6. 5.
Up in the air, we see the Sky Striker swooping down, getting ready to light up the furniture factory before the missile can take off.
4. 3.
Next panel, the Sky Striker, multiple Sky Strikers we see now. There are 3 in total. They all are unleashing their salvo.
2. 1.
0. The missile shoots out of the Arco Furniture Company as the Sky Striker missiles swoop down upon it. Destro dives out of the way as the missiles come in, like right over his head. The APC is also turning to avoid getting into the path. Huge explosion. Boom. Whole building blows up. I mean, it is completely liquidated. Destro is being carried away with the help of 2 of the paratroopers.
The rocket plane got away. The Baroness is safe.
You did it, Destro. You saved Cobra Commander.
Yes, that too.
The Joes have gotten out of the APC, which has literally just seen the worst. I mean, like, the tarp is torn up. It's just, they've put a lot of, it took a licking and kept on ticking. Well, it wasn't an ICBM in that silo after all. Some sort of rocket plane. It'll outrun our jets in seconds. This old APC done good. Took a lick and kept on ticking. That's what I just said. Did I read that and intensively apply it to this scenario? Or is it because I read it a while ago? It is very late. It could go either way. I will not edit that out, but weird. Looks like we're back to square one, Hawk. We didn't pass go and we didn't collect $200. Back to Sierra Gordo, we see from a distance our former Cobra troopers are escorting Dr. Venom and Snake Eyes out. Dr. Venom and Snake Eyes have both been not hog-tied, but they're tied up at the arms for least resistance.
Wait, weren't there 3 of you in that bunker? What happened to the Eskimo, Kwinn?
I caved in the back of his head with a wrench. He's dead.
You haven't told us the truth so far. Why should we believe?
Quinn's dead. If he hasn't come up by now, he's drowned for sure.
To the airfield, then. Last 2 panels of this, we see some tiny air bubbles dribbling up from the water. And then our final shot, another still shot of the bunker with air bubbles kind of creeping out. And Kwinn nowhere to be seen. The end. So that brings us to the end of G.I. Joe number 14. This is like, I don't know what you would call this particular run. I do feel like it is very highlighted by the Snake Eyes, Dr. Venom, Kwinn story where they're like on the run. They get caught in this, they get caught in that. They're working together, they're working apart. And I think that is the beginning of the end of this arc, no matter what else is going on within it. And it's one of the best. This is such a widely regarded, for the first true ongoing run that I think really holds its ground and is still very exciting to reread after all these years. I love Dr. Venom. Dr. Venom is such a great character. I also really love all the underhandedness that goes on in Cobra. There's always a little bit of somebody wants to Game of Thrones this place and take over Cobra. But there wasn't as much political manipulation as there is in these early issues where people are creating alliances with other Cobra operatives. They've all got their own secret plans going on. Those counter plans are clashing with other people's evil plans. It's just a really great time for the upheaval and anarchy that happens at Cobra across the board. So what do you think about this, Jaron? How do you feel about the way things are developing in the story so far?
I like that they do a good job of, at least for so far, they've sprinkled in the new characters instead of just being well, okay, nope. Now we're not going to use any of the original characters and they're all kicked out. It's really funny to see these now knowing where it went, but I can't imagine as a kid seeing that Sky Striker for the first time because I have one and seeing it makes me want to go play with mine. And I can't imagine being a kid and then reading this and seeing the cartoon and then being able to buy it. It's just that aspect is phenomenal. I like the portrayal of Destro. I like seems to be a fearless leader. He was just standing there, just taking shots, ready to lead. But also kind of that he looks out for himself. That's a really cool dynamic that they've kind of set up so far.
Yeah, they didn't waste any time. They've clearly put a pretty strong link between Destro and Baroness, and that will continue to grow. There are a lot of weird questions in these early issues. We'll talk about them kind of on a little bit more of a case-by-case basis, but it's weird to see what a big point of contention Destro is making where he's Baroness, please say my new name, Destro. But, in as little as maybe a year, we will realize that Destro is actually a family name. Certainly at this point, if you've seen anything from any of the cartoons or even the live action movies, Destro is his family name. It's not like he chose the code name. It's part of his heritage. So the idea that he's adopting this name and he needs other people to embrace it, it doesn't really check out in the long term of the continuity. I know, G.I. Joe is retconned nonstop, and in these early years, that's definitely no exception. Things changed significantly over the years, and they kind of contradict themselves. So it's really up to you to write the no prize or, determine how it fits in your universe. You've got a couple of different options. There's another issue that's coming up pretty soon where he takes off his mask, and even though we don't see it, it's supposed to be kind of a big deal. And then just spoil it for you, you will see his regular face later, and it's nothing to faint over, ladies. So I don't know. We'll talk a little bit more about that when it happens as well. But there's a air of mystery around Destro at this time that does not stack up with the origin of Destro as we know it later on. We'll try to no prize them as we can. I'd rather explain it than just be dismissive and flippant of it. We also, speaking of no prizes, brace yourself, because as soon as we read the first 2 pages of the next month's episode, we have to talk about the continuity problems that are happening. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today, and thanks so much for listening. We'll be back in 2 short weeks with G.I. Joe news, recent acquisitions. We've got some more mail. And it's not too late for you to get mail on the show. If you want to write in, you can do that at anythingjoespod@gmail.com or anythingjoespodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on all our social medias at Anything Joe's Pod. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Or you can find our YouTube channel, just flat out Anything Joe's. And we would love for you to reach out to us. We greatly enjoy interacting with our fans, and we tremendously appreciate the time that you've spent with us here today. And we hope you'll come back in 2 short weeks, where anything's available for discussion here on Anything Joe's.